this is my node first node project stream. So let me silence that real quick. Okay, great. So this is my first node project, warts and all. I show the process as much as can be shown without divulging either my secrets, passwords and that sort of thing, or copyrighted material. I'm currently part of Thinkful, a boot camp, and this is my capstone, quote unquote. So since it is my first real node project from scratch, it's kind of one of those things where like I may have to consult the curriculum, that sort of thing. And also I kind of don't show some of the major reading that I do, that sort of thing. Or question and answer sessions, since people don't consent to be filmed. But I keep you up to date, and you see the majority of my thought process. Okay, so let's see here. Where were we? Last time we were constructing some tests, and we were kind of getting our code up to snuff, trying to do TDD with some of our validation logic, that sort of thing. I think that we constructed some tests for that, and we did a few other different things, I think. So I'm afraid I don't remember as much as I ought this time around, though I'm pretty good at remembering mostly. I'm going to show my screen, and we can kind of go through it a little bit more. Okay, so let's see here. Currently, if I run Webpack, so a few different things. Let's go through our different files, and we can kind of cover what's been like created and what's been like thing. Okay, so my validation tests work. Yay. So my models test work. And my client tests work. That sort of thing. And my app tests work. And my API test does not yet currently do anything. Though I should probably get this, so I should probably actually unskip this and see if this works. So let's try this out. Okay, API test does not work. Okay. I'm not sure if this is what should be testing. Okay, so it sounds like we've got two different things. It sounds like as if we've got, so let's say test API functions. Add more API to add a better API test. Okay, great. Let's label this with that. Okay, so I'm super glad we did this because I actually wasn't so not aware that, I mean, I was thinking about, I wasn't really thinking about it, you know what I mean? It runs, but it doesn't do anything. You know what I mean? And I feel like API is probably where we need to, I know our models work. And honestly, our API is just a wrap around our models. So I'm not sure. It sounds as if it may need to be like an integration test. Because it's mealmodel.create and it's just a wrap and a promise. I would like to test this get all meals from DB. Because I don't think we test that in model. Though, let's see here. No, we do not do it. Yeah. Okay. So let's see here. Okay, so it sounds as if we want to write an additional model test. And we want to write... Okay, so I can think of 3 things that we need to do. So let's see here. Our first to-do thing, not that. Our first to-do thing is this. Add a test for find model. Okay, add a better API test, and then we have an endpoint for getting meals. Okay, those are the 3 things that we need to be doing. Okay, great. So let's focus on and add an endpoint. Because I feel like the model thing could be getting into... It's a really kind of a question of whether or not I should be testing this. Like, I think it would be good to test it, but I don't know if we absolutely need to, since it's pretty much a wrapper on mealmodel.create. And similarly, so we may be able to combine those things. Okay, so let's go to app real quick. And then let's do a side-by-side with app test. Okay, great. So this is our... Actually, let's check to see what changes we have before we do this. Okay, so this is an export of get all meals to import of get all meals to DB. Okay, which is fine. That belongs in app because the app is what's going to serve the thing. Okay. And actually, hold on. Let's look at what the changes are. And then it adds a comment. Okay, great. So let's do that. And then let's, what do we say here? We say adds imports database, get data from database API function. And then, okay, so let's look at what changes are in here. Okay, great. Let's do comments out. Cooper fake database. Okay, and so I don't know if I've talked about the reason why we're doing an endpoint here. So let's, before we go like too much farther, let me show you the client. So right now we're importing our API, which is our server-side code, into our client, which means that Webpack, when Webpack tries to build this, Webpack can't build this. We get a nice nasty error that it took me a little bit to kind of figure out what's going on. So what the client needs to do is the client needs to use an endpoint. The client needs to use an endpoint to get that code, which means we need to get the database. Because right now we've got an endpoint for add meal to DB. And so we can replace that code. We need to have something get all meals from DB. And then, so once we have those two endpoints, we can kind of go, oh, okay, great, let's do it. And then we can actually run Webpack and it'll be hunky-dory. Okay, great. So let's go back to app test. And actually, I kind of want app on this side. And I kind of want app test on this side. Okay, now that we've got our thing, let's get our thing here. Okay. All right, so let's write our test first, which is kind of why I wanted to put it on the right, because you write on the right for, anyway, I don't know. There's a pun there somewhere. Okay, let's do test, and then say returns meals saved in DB. And then let's do that, and let's do a function. And let's continue to create a function. Let's put that there. Okay, so this wants a space. Thank you, ESLint. Okay, so return request. I think it should be request, and then app, and then we're gonna say .get, and then we're gonna say meals. And then we're going to do a .then for a promise. And then I'm patterning this off of this thing. So we're going to say response. Actually, I'm going to use lowercase. I'm not sure if it matters. It probably doesn't. Oh, I guess it does want me to do uppercase. Well done. Thank you, VS Code. Okay, let's create a thing. And then put that there. And then we can say expect response. And the only thing I can think of is that okay, well, there's one thing, you know, in terms of integration tests, like testing a get, testing an endpoint. Like every test is kind of a get test, you know, sort of thing. And so the biggest thing about this one in particular is that the biggest thing about this one is that I kind of don't know what the database is going to return right now. Like I don't have any other sort of create, that sort of thing. So I think since we're doing like kind of a TTD, I think it's a question of, you know, I think it's a question of whether or not, like, how do we put this? I think it's a question of what ideally we expect to get, if that makes sense. So ideally we expect to get something. Okay, so let's pattern off of our previous code. Expects response status code. Okay, great. We'll say response.status code. That is easy. To be 200, because I like my 200s. And then I think that gets that. I think that gets a, yes, it does. Okay. I don't think it matters if I do a 2 equal. Let's do an expect, and let's do a response dot and we're gonna say dot body dot meals, and then whoa, dot to be defined. Okay, that's easy. Great. I mean, that's our simple easy test. I think that if we're going to do this, okay. And so, yeah. To be defined. I think that's your, sure. Let's do it. Okay, it probably fails right now because we don't have anything to do with it. Return meals is a 404 because we have nothing serving it. Okay, and then we have this test and we can make it pass, and then we can eventually like modify it to expect something else. Because once we get kind of some sort of like create, like we could do, like we know the post works, and so if the post works, then we can say, oh, it's gonna work, and then, you know, that sort of thing, which I hope made sense. Okay, let's commit this test. Failing test for meals endpoint. Great. Okay, awesome. So let's write our endpoint. Okay, so we're gonna say app.get, and then we're gonna do meals here, the way Express wants us to. And then we're gonna say, we're gonna create a function because we like functions. And then from here, we're gonna do that. And then we're gonna put our rec res in here. And why doesn't it like this? Okay. Defined but never used, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. So we need to use, do we import get all meals from DB. Okay, so let's return res.status 200.json, and then do. Okay, so let's see here. I think this is gonna have to be a promise. I think it's gonna have to. I wonder if there's a way to do this without promises. Okay, this is a Twitter post. Oh, Twitter. Okay, so let's make this happen. New tweet. Promises are like a Swiss Army knife. No, they're not a Swiss Army knife. They're like a hammer. No, they're like super glue. Are like super glue. You always get some in an unexpected place. In an unexpected... But that's not quite true. It's not quite super glue. It's like... Promises are like tribbles. They multiply. Okay. Tribbles. They multiply. If you're not careful. And then I should do hashtag Node.js and hashtag web learning to code. And then hashtag web development. I would say rabbits, but actually, yeah, are like a plague of rabbits. Are like a plague of rabbits. They multiply if you're not careful. Okay. Because the thing about tribbles is that, yeah, tribbles multiply. It's like rabbits to the 10th power. Okay. Great. Multiply. Okay. I can spell. I swear. Okay. Great. Let's tweet it. Perfect. Okay. Now that we've had our fun for the evening, let's continue with our rabbit. I swear, I'm going to call every promise I make a rabbit. It's like rabbits everywhere. Okay. All right. Okay, so... All right. So we're going to say... I don't know if we actually need a promise here. So let's try it without a promise and see what happens. Let's go get all meals from DB. And then let's just call it and see what happens. Let's make sure our MongoDB is running, which it is. Scroll down. Received a 500. What is the status code 500? Okay. Oh, that's an internal server error. It's fascinating. Okay. It's maybe a good idea to wrap it in a promise. Then. Okay. Okay. So let's say const const data equals and then let's say get all meals from DB. And let's put in data here, which may be a thing. And it may be that I just need to like call getallmeals.db and then .then instead of do this data thing. But I would like to make it without a promise. Nope, it's still 500ing. Okay, great. All right, so let's just call getallmeals from DB and then type in a .then. And let's wrap this in a promise. Yeah, I guess I don't know how to convey the data from this. Oh, it failed to run. Oh, that's fascinating. Oh, it really doesn't like this. All right, I'm gonna take a brief break and I will be back in a minute. Thank you. Apologies. I have been waylaid by somebody direct messaging me on Slack. So, okay. Yeah. All right. So, we have constructed our first endpoint draft, but it is definitely not working. Or at least our test is not working. It is failing to run. Okay, it doesn't like that. Okay, missing semicolon. All right. Okay, apologies for this. Okay, great. So, let me... All right, so we're supposed to be doing get all live meals, blah, blah, blah. Okay, the one thing I'm kind of wondering is, this is assuming that we know how this function works. I'm not sure if this get all meals from DB is an actual like function right now. Or it may not be a promise-based function, essentially, is what I'm saying. Because I think that one of my other models... So, okay. So let's go to because I had to promisify this thing to actually make it behave the way we expected it to behave. Okay, so let's do this. Let's make it a promise. Actually, hold on. We don't... Okay, so this is my order of attack. Okay. Add test for model. Add test for find model. Add better API test. And add an endpoint for getting meals. Okay. All right. I told my person who was live coding that that I'm live coding, and so anyway. All right. So add test to find model. Add a better API test, and then do this. Okay. So we've done this backwards. I'm shocked. Me do it backwards? Never. Okay. So let's go over here and let's open up our model test. And okay, so testing meal model. We are testing that data can be created. We are testing a find one. Okay, so I think that we really just need to... I think that all we need to do here is we need to test data can be found. And let's create something. Pretzel. Okay, and then let's make an ingredient. Salt. And then let's do pretzel. And then let's do dough. And I'm sure other things go into that, but Okay, and then we do a find. Here. Because that's what we do here. Name to equal pretzel. And model ingredient to contain salt. Okay. Now, one of the things that I'm kind of, right now, it does not, okay. Great. I love it. Okay. Okay, so let's console log model. Because what just happened is we had a failing test. Okay, console log model. Great. Okay. So we get something. Okay, so I'm confused. We get an array with an object. Okay, so expect model dot. I mean, okay, so we can make this test pass by making model dot zero. But I'm wondering if there's a way to destructure it. Maybe? Destructure array. Okay. Okay, so instead of find one, we do find all. Okay, so let's try very, very simple. Actually, just try to do it here. Let's not even try to do it in here real quick, because it may fail. Let's see if our syntax is right. No, it isn't at all. Model equals model. Okay, let's do that. Okay. No, that doesn't work at all. Okay, so let's say const data equal const equals model. And then let's do here console log data. And maybe that'll be, that equals will be the syntax. Although ESLint does not like this. Unexpected trailing comma, great. Should be no space before this, great. Sweet. Okay. So we can say data.name. And then we can say data.ingredients. And I think that should make that work. Oh, okay, great. It passes. Hallelujah. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so in other words, what we need to make sure to do is in our model, and let's go back to our models real quick, because as much as our API makes sense. Great. Okay, so that works. Okay. So models work. And the thing we found out is that it's an array. And so because it's an array, we have to destructure it or figure out some way to deal with it. Or we have to map it, actually. Then that's probably not a bad idea. I mean, I think mapping it might not be... It's probably what we need to do in the API. Once we start dealing with like multiple sets of things. Okay. So add test for find model. Great. And then let's edit this real quick. Okay, and then, so let's commit this. Created test for dot find operation in model. Great, awesome. So app, we don't need to commit yet. Okay, so let's ignore app here. Okay, so what's next in our little add a better API test? Great. I'm not looking forward to this really, but I think it's good for me. Discipline. Yeah, that's what we're calling it nowadays. Okay, great. All right, so let's add meal. Okay, so let's test our get meals from DB. Okay, so first let's import get all meals from DB. and let's import add meal to DB. And why don't you like this? Is assigned to value but never used, assigned to value and never used. Great. Okay. We don't care. Okay, so let's undescribe this. Let's say database API works as expected. Great. Okay. Data is created as expected. Expected. Okay, so let's see here. Add meal to DB to equal blah, blah, blah. Okay. So we're going to have to do a lot more to this to make this like kind of behave. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to okay, so let's take this and okay. I should have anyway. It's very Monty Python-esque, a plague of rabbits. That's the only thing I'll say. Okay, so it looks like I have created an object. So let's move this object out. Okay. So const data. Because I am unoriginal in my naming. Okay, great. Macaroni and cheese, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's go add meal to DB. And then let's call data. And then let's save this. It's probably... And actually, I really should hat tip my mentor on that one. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So what do I need? I don't just need my API. I want to look at how I did my... Is it my models test or is it like a client test? No, it's this test. Okay. And then we're going to say dot then. And then we're going to call our thing here. Great. Awesome. And why don't you unexpected new line after this? Okay, great. You don't want a new line. Okay. So let's go back and look at our API. No, I want API test. I want API over here. Okay. Okay. It sounds like we need to do something like what we did in the modules. Okay. And in fact, I kind of don't understand why the API is separate than the modules. like, I feel like that they're similar things. Like, an API is just a wrapper around it. It's a promised wrapper. Okay, so it sounds like I need to go through testing promises real quick in Jest, which I think is going to be over here. Okay, Jest, where are they? Testing asynchronous code. Great. Okay. Okay. So let's see here if I can I don't quite understand this expect assertions thing. Okay. So if we're going to do this in the way that makes sense here. So let's close this for a second. Okay, so what we would do is we would say expect dot assertions 1. Great. And then we would return add meal to DB data dot then expect and then okay, the dot then would have a function. We'll put input here. Input, and then we'll put data here. And then we're going to put a thing around this. Expect data to be equal to actually to be, we're going to say to be input. I think. Okay, what don't you, all right. Okay. Let's console log data and see what we get. Because this does not do what we expect it to do. All right, let's find out. Ooh, undefined. So either it's not doing anything, it's not returning, and then it just resolves. And then it resolves, and let's put post in here and we'll see what happens. Because it doesn't do, it just resolves. It doesn't actually send anything. Well, shit. Look at that. Okay, passing test. Fucking ace. All right. So let's delete our console, save our thing, and let's commit this. First passing API test. Though I should have done this too. First passing API test. Oh, and I gotta go. My mentor meeting is soon. Like in the next few minutes. I've been having so much fun writing tests. All right. Well, good stream, and I'm looking forward to continue doing this. So we'll talk soon. Bye.